4-H group over here. Did you want to say something about that, John? Yeah, Luke is part of the small engine class that meets here on Saturdays, and he's gotten 2 lawnmowers running so far today, so he's doing great. And so we're going to break him in for starting the engine. First thing you do is turn on the key. He's going to charge the accumulator tank here with gas. That gives the engine a good gulp of gas for starting. We start the engine using compressed air. About the 3rd revolution, it's always running. Good job, Luke. Here we've got the external camshaft. It operates both the intake valve and the exhaust valve with one load. Our green lines are for water for cooling. These blue lines are the compressed air for starting. The yellow lines and the brass lines are all for lubrication. We've got a bunch of lubrication systems here. We've got 3 banks of oilers. Pressure oilers run off from the camshaft. All the valve stems have drip oilers on them. We also have a tank up in the rafters here that provides gravity flow oil to the center section and back to the compressor. Air comes in from the back side. This is the mixing valve or carburetor. Exhaust comes off these manifolds here. There's a pipe down in the pit, and the exhaust pipe is on the far corner outside. Our main connecting rod shaft here is hollow, so there's water runs down through that rod, and that keeps the pistons cool. We also have water in the chambers here, keeps the combustion area cool. And you'll notice that the exhaust valves have water piped to them to keep the exhaust valves cool. This is an exhaust valve right here. Has a hollow stem so the water can come up through it and keep the valve cool. This is an intake valve. These are the igniters. We don't have spark plugs in this machine. We have igniters. So when it gets the charge, this opens, creates a spark. That's how we get ignition. There's 2 of those in each pre-combustion chamber. 2 here, staying down there. Rotating unit up here is the governor. And we run it about half speed at 60 RPM. The rated speed is 120. Right in this area of the flywheel, there's a pin that would pop out if the engine should overspeed. It would pop out, hit this rudder, and throw a nice switch until the ignition. And I tell people we do know that works because several years ago, one cold February morning, the oil was pretty heavy, and all of a sudden this thing wasn't running like this. It kept going faster and faster, and makes your heart beat faster too. But the pin did pop out through the switch and shut it down. This would be a piston ring from the engine and a piston ring from the compressor. This compressor down here is a double acting compressor. has 180,000 cubic foot per hour capacity. The engine burned about 4,000 cubic feet per hour to run the pump. So it's a pretty efficient running engine. We have these pocket valves here adjusted out so that we aren't really compressing. We're just reciprocating here. Mike opened the valve there and you can hear it doing its job. After this engine completed its flight out in the Buffalo area, it was salvaged along with its twin, who was also in the building, by Mr. Ed Winter, who was a salvage man from Western New York State. We've got a tribute over here on the wall, a collage of pictures to Mr. Winter. He was a collector of all things mechanical, especially big stuff mechanical like this engine. He was a member of the Florida Flywheelers, and in the mid-90s, he told the Flywheelers if they guaranteed to get an engine running, he would give them one of them. And so in about 1998, 4 or 5 semi-loads of old rusty iron had been laying out in his yard for 20 years, came to Florida. They put together a team of volunteers, a couple dozen guys, headed up by Mr. Lou Donaldson, who is still around here. He's down in the pits, moving dirt around, having fun down there. He's not at this site anymore. But the 4 years after they started construction, they had the engine running. The first thing they had to do was build the base. There's 100 yards of concrete just in the base of the engine. And fortunately, they had the blueprint to do the base. 4 years after they started, the engine was up and operating. And we got some pictures over here on the wall of the reconstruction of the engine. And the top 2 pictures are of this engine when it was being taken into the Door Valley gas field. This center section weighs about 40 ton on its own, and there's 10 horses pulling a freight wagon taking the center section into the Door Valley gas field. This isn't the only snow engine in service around the country for demonstration purposes. Out in Rolog, Minnesota, there's a 600-horse engine, which is a little larger than this. In Cool Spring, Pennsylvania, there's also a 600-horsepower engine. And up in Buckley, Michigan, they have an 1,100-horsepower unit, which is two 600s side by side with a common flywheel. And last summer, they got that running on fuel. So we know of 4 that are operating around the country, and I know of 1 more that's in parts and pieces, and they're trying to raise money to get that one up and operating also. That's in Western New York State. So that's our story. If you've got some questions, we'll try to answer them, as long as you don't make the questions too difficult. Yes, the exhaust. These are the exhaust manifold right here. Goes into a pipe down in the pit, and the exhaust pipe is on the far corner outdoors. It's not very loud. It's more of a whoosh, whoosh. Not very loud. Not like some of these hit-and-miss engines that really bark. This serial number on this one is 301. We've never been able to find out exactly how many of these engines were built, but we know it has to be at least 301 because that's the number on this one. If you'd like to come around the back side of the engine, you may do that. So you can see the back side. And also I want to remind you that Luke, who started the engine, is part of the 4-H club here that is doing small engine repair and maintenance class here. They meet on Saturdays. They are rattling off, just up to death out here. So if you'd like